Hello my beautiful friends, let's start with today's stories, The Lion and the Hare. Once upon a time, a fierce lion terrorized the forest by killing animals mercilessly even when he was not hungry. Finally, the scared animals approached the lion, proposing that they would send one animal to him daily if he stopped killing animals for fun. The lion agreed but warned them, "If you promise to offer an animal a day, I shall not lay a paw on the rest. If you fail, I will kill every animal." The animals agreed. They chose one unlucky animal every day and sent it to the lion. One day the animals chose a hare. The hare walked towards the lion's den as slowly as possible. The hungry lion roared when he saw the hare, "You alone can't satisfy my hunger. Now I will eat you and then attack other animals for not fulfilling their promise. Why are you so late?" The hare replied timidly, "O mighty lion, 4 hares were sent to satisfy your hunger, but on our way we met another lion. He ate my friends and left me alive to convey a message to you. He said that he is the new king of the jungle and has challenged you to a fight." The lion became furious and asked him to escort him to the other lion. The hare took him to a well. When the lion peeped inside, he saw his own reflection. Thinking it was the other lion, he started roaring. The roar echoed. The lion thought that the other lion was roaring back at him. To teach the other lion a lesson, he jumped into the well and drowned. The animals thanked the hare for getting rid of the lion. The moral of this story is, gather all the facts before believing what you are told. Now let's go to the next story, The Blue Jackal. A hungry jackal was wandering in a village in search of food. A group of dogs spotted him and chased him to attack him. The scared jackal somehow managed to run away from the dogs and entered a hut. He hid inside a tub which was filled with blue dye. When he emerged from the tub, his body was dyed blue. He no longer looked like an ordinary jackal. The dogs were terrified when they spotted the blue jackal and ran away from him. Confused, the jackal came back to the forest. Even the animals of the forest were scared and ran away from him. The confused jackal went to the pond to drink water and saw his reflection. The jackal realized that all the animals feared him because of his color. He then came up with a cunning plan to rule over the animals in the forest. He approached the animals and said, "Friends, don't be afraid of me. God has sent me to protect you. I am your new king. Thus you must follow my command." The jackal allotted all animals specific duties. Small animals would cater to his general needs, whereas lions and tigers would hunt for prey. He fooled the animals for a long time. But one day, he heard a pack of jackals howling at a distance while he was surrounded by other animals. Out of habit and natural instinct, he started howling like those jackals. Everybody realized that he was a mere jackal and had fooled them all along. The jackal realized his mistake, but it was too late. The furious animals surrounded him and punished him severely. The moral of the story is, it is difficult to hide one's true nature for a long time. Next, go to the next story, The Naive Camel. There was once a lion who ruled a jungle. He was served by a crow, a leopard, and a jackal. One day they saw a camel who had wandered away from his caravan. The lion was furious to know more about the camel as he had not seen one before. The crow replied, "This is a camel master. They live in villages. Their flesh is delicious. We should prey on him." The lion refused and said, "We won't prey on him. He is our guest." Everybody agreed to follow the lion's command and promised not to attack the camel. The lion promised the camel, "You are welcome to my jungle. Feel free to live here. I will protect you." Thus, the camel lived in peace with the other wild animals. One day, the lion got severely injured in a fight and thus couldn't hunt for several days. When the lion grew weak, the jackal tried to persuade him to eat the camel. The lion refused to break his promise. The cunning jackal suggested to the lion, "You are not bound by your promise if the camel voluntarily offers himself as prey." And the lion agreed. He approached the other animals and said, "Our king is weak. It is our duty to offer ourselves to him and pay our debts." The crow, the jackal, and the leopard offered themselves to the lion, but he refused to eat them. The naive camel thought that he too should impress the lion since he wasn't eating anyone anyway. He said to the lion, "Oh master, you can eat me. This way I can repay my debt for living here." The lion smiled and attacked the camel. After killing the camel, the cunning animals feasted on his meat for several days. The moral of the story is, never trust cunning and powerful people. Now let's go to the next story. The Lion and the Carpenter. A carpenter once befriended a lion in the forest and invited him for lunch. The lion agreed and went to the carpenter's house at the edge of the forest. The carpenter presented several dishes to the lion, who enjoyed them all. The carpenter said to the lion, "You can dine with me every day, but you must come alone." The lion agreed. They met every day and the lion eventually gave up hunting. One day a jackal and a crow asked the lion why he no longer hunted. He told them that he was dining with a friend whose wife cooked delicious food. The lion invited them to meet the carpenter. Seeing the lion with other animals, the carpenter and his wife climbed a tall tree. The carpenter said to the lion, "You broke your promise. We won't be friends anymore." The moral of the story is, learn to honor your word. How are you all? I hope you are doing well. Let's start with today's stories. The Bull and the Greedy Jackals. Once a bull was wandering all alone in the forest. One day a jackal's wife saw the bull drinking water from a river. The jackal's wife said to her husband, "Look at that healthy bull. I think he will taste good. I'm sure a lion or tiger will kill the bull and we can eat whatever they leave behind. We must follow him. It is not certain that a lion or tiger will kill this bull today. If we follow him, then we might not get a chance to hunt any other animals. We will remain hungry," replied the jackal. The jackal's wife was adamant and finally the jackal agreed to follow the bull. They followed the bull for a week, but no animal attacked the bull. In the end, they both gave up and went back to hunt for small animals. The moral of the story is, greed makes a man blind and foolish. The next story. The Trapper and the Doves. Once a flock of doves was flying in the sky searching for food. They spotted some scattered rice near a banyan tree. The wise leader of the doves cautioned them, "Stop! It can be a trap. Who dropped these grains in this open land?" The doves did not listen to their leader and landed on the ground to eat the grains. While they were eating, a net fell on them, and to their shock, they were all trapped. In a panic, the doves started blaming each other for their misfortune. The trapper was happy to catch so many birds. He went back to his house to fetch a large bag. The leader spoke calmly. "There is no need to fight or panic. I have a plan to escape if you are willing to listen to me." The doves calmed down and decided to follow the advice of their leader. The leader suggested to the doves, "Each one of you must pick a position in the net. Then we must fly together in coordination, carrying the net with us." All the doves followed his lead and flapped their wings together. The trapper watched helplessly as they flew away with the net. He ran after them, but it was futile. Soon he lost track of the birds. The doves reached a hill and the leader said, "Let's land here. I have a friend who can help us." A mouse came out of his hole when he saw the doves. The leader of the doves said to the mouse, "My friend, can you set us free from the net?" The mouse gone at the net with his sharp teeth and soon set him free. The doves thanked the mouse and flew away. The moral is, we are stronger when we work together. The next story, The Tortoise and the Swans. Once a tortoise was friends with two swans. They lived near a lake. During summer, when the lake started to dry, the swans decided to fly to a new place. The tortoise begged his friends to take him with them as well. The swans replied, "How will you come with us? You can't fly." "Let's find a large stick. I will hold the middle of the stick tightly with my mouth. You can hold the two ends with your beaks and fly," said the tortoise. The swans agreed to his plan and said, "But remember, you must not open your mouth at any cost." The tortoise agreed. As they were flying over a village, the villager praised the swans for their clever plan. The angry tortoise opened his mouth to explain that it was his plan. He crashed to the ground and died. The sad swans flew away. The moral is, never ignore your friend's advice. The next story, Three Fishes. One day, a group of fishermen came across a pond. One of them pointed to the pond and said, "Let's return tomorrow and catch some fish in this pond." Three fishes swimming close to the surface heard them. Terrified, the first fish immediately announced, "I am leaving this pond along with my family right now." The second fish agreed with the plan. The third fish argued, "Don't be a coward. This pond has always been safe for us. There is no need to shift from this pond to another. I don't believe that the fishermen will catch us." Most of the fishes agreed with the first fish and traveled to a new pond through a small outlet. A few fishes agreed with the third fish and stayed behind. The next morning, the fishermen came back to the pond and caught all the fishes in that pond. The moral of the story is, it is important to act when you foresee a problem. The first story is The Old Lion and the Fox. Once an old lion living in the forest grew very sick and was unable to hunt. He then thought of a wicked plan to find food. He spread the word that he was ill and will remain in his cave. He then went back to his cave and waited at the entrance. Many animals went to the cave to inquire about the lion's health. The lion invited them inside and killed them. One day the lion saw a fox waiting outside the cave. "You should come inside and pay me your respects," said the lion to the fox. "My lord, I see many animals' footprints going into the cave, but none coming outside." "I will not step inside the cave," replied the cunning fox. The fox went back to the forest and warned the other animals about the lion. The moral of the story is, be alert to your surroundings. The next story, The Jealous Donkey. There was once a farmer who had a dog and a donkey. The dog used to guard his property and the donkey used to ferry goods for the farmer. The farmer was fond of his dog. Whenever he came home from work, the dog would jump on his lap and bark happily. The farmer would pet the dog affectionately. The donkey grew jealous because the farmer never pampered him. So the next day he decided to behave like a dog. When the farmer came home from work, he ran up to him and tried jumping onto his lap. The donkey even licked the face of his master and brayed loudly. The farmer was surprised by the odd behavior. He pushed the donkey away and started beating him with a stick. The donkey ran back to the stable and never behaved like a dog again. The moral of the story is, jealousy makes a fool of a person. The next story, The Wolf and the Dog. There was once a wolf who was starving. He saw a plump pet dog who had ventured into the woods. The wolf asked the dog if he could share his food with him. "My friend, if you work for a master as I do, you will never starve. I can help you get work. Come with me. You will be looked after well," said the dog. The wolf agreed and they left for the village. On their way, the wolf noticed chapped skin around the neck of the dog. He asked him, "Why are there bruises around your neck?" "This is nothing. It happened because of the collar that the master used to chain me with every night. You will get used to it," said the dog. On hearing this, the wolf said, "Goodbye, my friend. I will starve, but I won't be a slave." The moral of the story is, never compromise on your freedom. The next story, The Flea and the Bug. A flea once lived in a silk sheet covering a king's bed. She would feed on his blood only when he was fast asleep. Hence the king never noticed. One day the flea saw a bug in the king's bedroom and said, "You must leave before the king's servant catches you. I am your guest. You should treat me better. I am here because I have never tasted the king's blood," complained the bug. So the flea agreed to let him feed and said, "Your bite is nasty. You should only feed when the king is asleep." The bug agreed. When the king entered the room, the bug couldn't control himself and bit him. The king noticed the bite and asked his servants to search the bed. The bug quickly hid under the bed, but the servants found the flea and killed her. The moral is, one should not trust strangers and their false promises. The next story, The Elephant and the Sparrows. Two sparrows built a nest on a branch, and a female sparrow laid eggs in it. One hot summer, an elephant went mad and rammed into their tree. The sparrows managed to fly, but the eggs fell to the ground and shattered. The sparrows cried and sought the help of their friend, the woodpecker. The woodpecker said, "I know a frog and a fly who could help." The frog explained his plan. The fly will buzz in the elephant's ear to annoy him. Then the woodpecker will turn him blind by pecking at his eyes. I will sit near a pit and croak. When he hears me, the elephant will think that he is near water and will jump inside the pit. All of them agreed to the plan. Everything went as planned. The blind elephant fell into the pit and never hurt anyone again. The moral is, teamwork can help us overcome huge obstacles. The next story, The Cunning Jackal. A female camel and her calf wandered into the forest. A lion, a wolf, and a jackal attacked the camel and killed her. The lion took pity on the cub and spared his life. The camel grew up in the forest and became an advisor to the lion. One day, the lion fell sick and could not hunt. So, the cunning jackal approached the camel and said, "O camel, you must offer yourself to the lion to receive a blessing. This sacrifice will give you twice the body you have after rebirth." The foolish camel agreed. He went to the lion and offered himself. The lion killed the camel. The cunning jackal said to the lion, "You must take a bath and worship the gods before eating the camel so that you will be blessed in your next life." The lion liked the suggestion and went to take a bath. The cunning jackal enticed the wolf. "You can take a bite of the camel meat if you want. I will not say anything to the lion." The greedy wolf sunk his teeth in the camel's body. When the camel returned, the cunning jackal shouted, "I warned you not to touch the camel, but you didn't listen." The lion was furious with the wolf. Terrified, the wolf ran away. Suddenly, a big caravan of camels was passing through the forest. The jackal said, "O master, this caravan is led by the god of death. Surely he must be angry with you for killing the camel in an ill-timely manner. You should run away and hide." The jackal laughed when the lion ran for his life. He ate the camel all by himself. The moral is, we must leave the company of the wicked. Friends, so today I am back with a lot of meaningful stories for you. So let's get started. The first story is The Monkey and the Wedge. A long time ago, a merchant hired several carpenters and masons to build a temple. One day, a group of monkeys arrived at the site and watched the carpenters work. They started playing with the tools once the carpenter left for lunch. A carpenter had left a huge pile of wood at the construction site. The log was half split with a wedge in between to prevent it from closing up. One of the monkeys was looking at it very intently. "What is this thing? Looks interesting," thought the monkey. The monkey grabbed the wedge and started to pull it. The wedge came out and the log closed in. The monkey got stuck between the half-split log and was seriously injured. The moral of the story is, don't meddle in other people's affairs. The next story is The Jackal and the Drum. Once a hungry jackal was wandering around the forest in search of food. The wind blew hard and the jackal heard a strange noise echoing in the forest. The jackal was scared and thought, "I must run back home before I get into trouble. What if someone is hiding behind the trees?" He was about to retreat and run when he contemplated, "Why am I running from something that I haven't even seen? I must carefully find the source of the noise." Gathering all his courage, he stepped forward. He saw the branch of a tree brushing against a small drum every time the wind blew hard. He took a sigh of relief and continued searching for food. The moral of the story is, in order to tide through life's challenges, practice being brave. The next story is The foolish sage. There was once a sage. He trusted nobody and thus kept all his money in a bag which he carried all the time. A crook observed the sage with his bag and decided to rob him. He approached the sage and said, "Guruji, please guide me and my misery." The sage accepted him as his disciple but did not trust him with the bag. However, the crook was able to gain the sage's trust with his sweet words and praise. One day, the sage said, "Guard my bag while I take my bath in the river." The crook agreed happily. The moment the sage entered the river, the thief stole the bag and ran away. When the sage came back, he could see neither his disciple nor his bag. The sage realized that his disciple was a fraud and went home disappointed. The moral of the story is, do not believe the sweet words of a swindler. The next story is the jackal and the rams. One afternoon, a sage was passing through the forest when he saw two rams fighting with each other. They were both severely injured. Blood was oozing out from their heads, but they still kept on fighting with each other. A greedy jackal came out of the woods and noticed all the blood on the ground. He started licking the blood, not caring about the fighting rams. The sage thought to himself, "What a foolish jackal! The life is in jeopardy due to his greed." The jackal kept on licking the blood from the ground and did not notice the rams approaching him at high speed. Suddenly, the ram smashed into the jackal and injured him severely. The moral of the story is, greed always leads to misery. The next story, The Crows and the Cobra. Two crows built a small nest on a huge banyan tree. The she-crow laid a few eggs in the nest. The crows did not know that a black cobra lived in the hollow of the banyan tree. The crows were shocked when the cobra slithered towards their nest and ate all their eggs. The grief-stricken crows went to seek advice from a jackal who lived nearby. They narrated their problem to the jackal. The jackal advised them, "You should plan your revenge against the cobra. Even the most powerful enemies can be defeated with wit." The jackal explained his plan. "You both should fly to the city and find a house where people are wealthy yet careless. Find something valuable lying around their house. Pick it up when the servants are watching. The servants will follow you to retrieve the object. When you return, drop the object near the hollow of your tree." The crows took his advice and flew to the city. They spotted the queen and her servants swimming in a lake. Their jewelry was lying on the bank. One of the crows went to pick up a necklace. The servants saw the crow stealing the necklace and alerted the soldiers. As expected, the royal soldiers followed the crows. The crow dropped the necklace near the hollow of the tree and flew back to their nest. The surprised cobra came out of the hollow and attacked the soldiers. The soldiers killed the cobra swiftly. They retrieved the necklace and went back to the city. The crows thanked the jackal for getting rid of their mortal enemy. The crows lived happily ever after. The moral of the story is, even the most powerful enemies can be defeated with the use of wit. I hope you all are doing very well. So now it's time to read yet another interesting stories. So let's get started. The first story is The Mouse and the Sage. A sage once lived in a hut near a temple. One day a mouse entered the sage's hut and started living there. He started stealing the food that the sage brought into the hut. The sage tried to hide the food, but the mouse always found it. One day, a scholar came to meet the sage. During their discussion, the scholar noticed that the sage was distracted. The scholar angrily said, "It seems you are not interested in hearing my opinions. You are preoccupied with some other important thought. I should leave." The sage apologized for his behavior and pointed to the mouse. "Look at that mouse. No matter how high I keep the bowl of food, he can always reach. He has been tormenting me for weeks." The scholar understood the problem and advised, "The mouse can jump so high because he is very strong and confident. He must have stored a lot of food somewhere. We must find his hideout." The sage and the scholar followed the mouse and found the hole where he had stored the food. They dug the hole and removed all the food. The mouse grew weak as he was left with no food. He tried to find more food but did not succeed. Slowly he lost his confidence. Left with no option, he entered the sage's hut and tried to steal food from the bowl. However, he failed to reach the bowl. The sage hit him with a cane. The injured mouse was forced to flee from the hut and find a new place. The moral is, strike at the enemy's source of strength to defeat him. Let's go to the next story. The Unteachable Monkeys. Once a group of monkeys got drenched in rain during winter. They were shivering in the cold when one of the monkeys found fireflies and thought they were fire embers. To start a fire, they started blowing on them. On a nearby tree, a bird was watching the vain attempts of the monkeys. She yelled, "You are wasting your time by trying to make a fire out of fireflies. You must go and find a cave to protect yourself from the cold." The monkeys ignored her advice and one of them said, "Don't interfere. Go away." Despite being ignored by the monkeys, the bird flew down to them. She tried to convince them that they must find shelter soon. One of the monkeys got frustrated and fiercely smashed the bird against the ground. The bird was severely injured. The moral of the story is, never advise fools. Now, next story, The Results of Education. A cruel bandit caught 2 parrots in the forest. While returning home, one of the parrots escaped and flew away and found shelter in a sage's house. A few years later, a king lost his way and reached the bandit's hut in the forest. The parrot in the bandit's house shouted, "A rider approaching the house! Catch him and kill him." The king swiftly changed his course and rode in the other direction. He then reached the sage's house, where the second parrot politely said, "Please come inside and rest. We will arrange for some fresh fruits." The surprised king replied, "I recently saw a parrot just like you, but he spoke to me quite rudely." The parrot then narrated the story of how he got separated from his twin brother. The king said, "A good education has given you good manners. Your brother's foul speech is the result of bad education." The moral is, Good education lays down the foundation for a good character. The next story, The Foolish Friend. There lived a foolish monkey who was very dear to the king. He was treated like a royal and could roam freely in the palace. Most of the time he would stay with the king. One day the king was sleeping in his bedroom while the monkey kept watch. Suddenly, a fly appeared in the king's bedroom and sat on the king's chest. When the monkey saw her, he tried to shoo her away, but every time he would do that, the fly would return to the king's chest. Furious, the monkey took a sword and chased the fly around the bedroom. Once again, the fly sat on the king's chest. The monkey tried to hit the fly with all his strength. The king woke up severely injured by the sword. The unharmed fly flew out of the window. The moral of the story is, a foolish friend can cause more harm than an enemy. Next story, The Bird with Two Heads. There lived a strange, rare bird with two heads and one body. Once, while roaming around the forest, one of the heads saw a tempting fruit. He started eating the fruit, but then the other head interrupted and said, "The fruit looks delicious. Give me a bite." "I was the one to spot the fruit and I won't share," snapped the first head. The second head didn't argue, but he was disappointed. A few days after that, while passing through the forest, the second head saw a poisonous fruit and thought of taking revenge. "I will eat this fruit because you insulted me the other day," he said. The first head pleaded him not to eat the fruit as they share a common stomach. But the second head ate the fruit. The poisonous fruit killed the bird. The moral of the story is, united we stand, divided we fall. The next story, An Excellent Bargain. One day, a poor priest told his wife, Chandeli, that she should invite a guest to their house and serve him food. Chandeli thought, "I have some cheap sesame seeds. I can use them to cook a dish for the guest." So she cleaned the sesame seeds and removed the husks. Then when she went to do the household chores, a dog came and soiled the seeds. Chandeli looked at the seeds and lamented, "These are all I had. Perhaps I can trick my neighbor into exchanging these with clean seeds." She went to her neighbor and said, "My friend, I offer you clean and unhusked sesame seeds in exchange for your husked ones." The neighbor agreed, but her son interrupted, saying, "There must be something wrong with the seeds. Who exchanges unhusked seeds for husked seeds?" The neighbor took her son's advice and Chandeli returned home disappointed. The moral of the story is, judge every offer carefully. Hello friends, welcome back. So today I am back with new stories for you. Let's get started. Our first story is The Swallow and the Crow. One day a young swallow landed on a branch next to a wise old crow. The swallow looked down his beak at the crow and said, "I don't think much of your stiff feathers. You should take more pride in your appearance." The old crow was very angry and was about to fly away when the swallow continued, "Look at me with my soft downy feathers. They are what a well-dressed bird needs. Those soft feathers of yours might be all right in the spring and summers," the crow replied, "but in the winter, You have to fly away to warmer countries. In the winter, the trees are covered with ripe berries. I can stay here and enjoy them as I have my stiff black feathers to keep me warm and dry. The crow held out his wings. What use are your fancy feathers then, Swallow? He asked before turning away. And the moral of the story is, fine weather friends are not worth much. Let's go to our next story. The dog and his reflection. A hungry dog passed a butcher's shop and spotted a juicy steak lying on the counter. He waited until the butcher went to the back of the shop. Then he ran in and stole it. On his way home, the dog crossed a narrow bridge over a river. As he looked down into the water, he saw another dog looking up at him. This dog was also carrying a piece of meat, and it looked even better than the one he had. I want that steak too, thought the greedy dog. So he jumped into the river to steal the steak from the other dog. But as he opened his mouth to snatch the steak, the butcher's steak fell from his mouth and sank to the bottom of the river. The other dog vanished in a pool of ripples. The greedy dog had been fooled by his own reflection, and now he was still hungry and had nothing left to eat. And the moral of the story is, it doesn't pay to be greedy. Next story. The biggest squeak in the world. Freddy couldn't squeak. Squeaking doesn't matter if you are a dog or a cat, but unfortunately, Freddy was a mouse. And mice are supposed to squeak. All my friends can squeak, he said. What's wrong with me? You are just not ready yet, said his grandfather. It will happen when the time is right. Later that day, Freddy was mopping around the mouse hole when suddenly a huge hungry cat came springing towards him. Freddy opened his mouth to yell for help and instead let out an enormous squeak. Every single mouse in the town heard it. Dogs heard it, even humans heard it. The cat leaped into the air and all its fur stood on end. Then it shot away in terror. When the other mice heard about the cat, they gave Freddy a big cheer. That's why your squeak took a long time to come. His grandfather laughed. It's the biggest squeak in the world. Next story. Achoo! Mouse's eyes filled up with water. His little nose started to twitch. A tingling tickled his whiskers, and then his knees started to itch. He got a bad case of the hiccups, then threw back his head in a sneeze, and he said, I'm feeling really bad. It's just I'm allergic to cheese. Thank you for watching. Hello friends, welcome back. So let's start with today's stories. Our first story is Jungle Ballet. Millie Monkey didn't like the dark. She snuggled up on Granny Monkey's knee and tried not to look at it, but it was all around her. The dark isn't scary, said Granny Monkey. Don't you know what happens at night when the stars come out? Millie shook her head. Sometimes the jungle puts on a magical ballet, whispered Granny Monkey. Little lights twirl and dance, but you can only see them if you are in bed. Millie longed to see the ballet. Bravely, she climbed into bed and said good night. The Granny Monkey began to sing a beautiful lullaby. Her song called all the fireflies in the jungle, and they danced around Millie's head until she fell asleep. Next day, Millie told Granny Monkey, you were right, dark isn't scary, dark is magical. And Granny Monkey gave a wise old smile. Let's go to our next story. Brave Amy. Amy the ostrich wasn't like her ostrich friends. They were afraid of everything, from loud noises to sandstorms, and whenever anything scared them, they buried their heads in the sand. But Amy never did. Amy dreamed of having adventures, but her friends just laughed. Ostriches don't go traveling, they said. It's much too scary. One evening, the ostriches heard a big noise drifting across the plain. Bang, bang, toot, toot. Of course, they all buried their heads in the sand, but not Amy. She stood up straight. I am not scared, she said bravely. In the evening light, she saw a traveling band marching towards her. They were playing drums and trumpets. Bang, bang, toot, toot, and they all looked very happy. I like your band, Amy said slyly. Then join us, said a camel with a drum. Amy looked at her friends with their heads buried in the sand, and she knew what she wanted to do. Now Amy has great adventures with the marching band, and she bangs the loudest drum of all. Next story. The Perfect Pet. Emily was visiting her friend Ethan's farm to choose a puppy. Most of the puppies bounded around the barn, barking and jumping on each other, but no puppy gently pressed against Emily's legs and licked her knees. I like this one, said Emily, looking at the puppy's cute brown fur. Are you sure? Said Ethan. Rusty doesn't chase sticks and run around like the other puppies. Rusty's ears drooped and he pressed closer to Emily. It was true. He wasn't like the others, but Emily looked down at his sad eyes and smiled at him. Look, he's so gentle and kind, said Emily, tickling Rusty's ears. He's the perfect pet for me. Rusty's heart leaped with happiness and he wagged his little tail. And Emily knew that she had found the most perfect pet in the whole wide world. Next story. The Secret Cat Circus. Every morning when they went to work, Jessie's owners left her dozing in the sunniest corner of the garden. They thought she was a very sleepy cat. But Jessie had a secret. As soon as they had gone, Jessie pulled on a sparkly costume and went to work, too, at the cat circus hidden at the bottom of their garden. Gather around, the tabby circus master shouted to the growing crowd. Come and see the best tightrope walking cat in the whole wide world. The crowd gasped as Jessie walked the tightrope, balancing a fish on her nose and juggling balls of string. By 5 o'clock, the circus show was over and Jessie pulled off her costume, settling down to doze in the sun for when her owners came home. That cat could sleep all day, Jessie's owners cried each evening. Little did they know of her performing talent or where the sparkles in her fur came from. Let's go to our next story, The Egg. Little Parrot lived in a nest with Mommy and a big pink speckled egg. I am going to find some food, Mommy told her one day. You must look after the egg until I return. Little Parrot watched the egg for a very long time. Then she wobbled it around to make it comfortable and wrapped her wings around it to keep it warm. I am very good at looking after eggs, she squawked, feeling pleased with herself. Just then little parrot heard a tapping noise coming from the egg. Then crack! "Oh no, I've broken it," she cried. "Mommy will be mad." But when Mommy returned, she wasn't angry at all. "Look," she said as a tiny baby parrot popped out of the broken eggshell. "You took care of the egg perfectly. Now it's hatched and you have got a new baby sister to play with." Hello everyone, today I'm back with new stories for you, so let's get started. Our first story is The Shepherd Boy and the Wolf. In a small village, a shepherd was appointed to take care of a herd of sheep. He used to take the sheep to the green pastures around the village and guard the sheep all day. Soon he was bored with the routine, so one day he thought of playing a prank on the villagers for fun. He loudly started screaming, "Wolf, wolf, help, help!" Many villagers came out to help him but found no wolf there. The shepherd repeated the prank for a few days. Each time the villagers would come out and return irritated, seeing no wolf there. One day the shepherd actually saw a wolf approaching the flock of sheep. "Help, help!" he cried. The villagers heard his voice, but no one believed him this time. No one came out to help him, and the wolf killed several sheep. The moral of the story is, do not lie or people will stop believing you. Next story. Two Travelers and a Bear. Two friends were traveling through the forest when they heard a bear rushing towards them. The first traveler immediately climbed a large tree, leaving his friend behind. The second traveler did not know how to climb a tree and was disappointed that his friend did not help him. He threw himself flat on the ground and controlled his breathing. The bear came forward and started sniffing the traveler who lay still. The bear thought the man was dead and went away. The first traveler climbed down the tree and approached his friend and asked him humorously, "What did the bear whisper to you?" The second traveler got up and replied in a grave tone, "He told me to never trust a friend who abandons you in danger." The second traveler bid farewell to his friend and left. The moral of the story is, adversity is the test of true friendship. Now let's go to our next story, The Lion's Share. One day, the lion invited a fox, a jackal, and a wolf to his den. The animals came at once. "I want to go hunting. Will you join me?" said the lion. Everyone agreed and went hunting with the lion. They caught a deer and killed it. The lion was pleased with their hunt. He divided the prey into 4 parts, while the other animals kept looking at it hungrily. Pointing to the 4 pieces of prey, the lion said, "The first part is mine because I was a part of this chase. The second part is also mine because I am the king of the jungle. The third part also goes to me as I am the strongest. And for the 4th part, let me see who dares lay a paw upon it." The fox, the jackal, and the wolf went back starving, as they knew that they could not fight the lion. The moral of the story is, never trust a wicked person to treat you fairly. Next story. Sour Grapes. Once a hungry fox was wandering in the forest in search of food. Weak and tired, he stopped near a shady tree. He looked up and was astonished to see several bunches of juicy grapes hanging from the tree. The fox's mouth watered. He started jumping in an attempt to pluck them. He jumped as high as he could, but it was all in vain. Soon he realized that the grapes were too high for him. He thought, perhaps I am tired. I must rest for a while and then try again. After a while he tried again but failed. He rested for a while and tried the third time and failed again. This went on for hours until he was forced to give up. Instead of accepting his failure, he walked away saying, whatever, the grapes appeared to be sour anyway. The moral of the story is, you despise what you can't accomplish. Now let's go to our next story. The Musical Donkey. There was once a donkey who befriended a jackal. The donkey used to serve a washerman during the day and wandered in the farms with his friend, the jackal, in search of food. One night, they were standing inside a cucumber farm when the donkey exclaimed, "It's such a beautiful night. I feel like singing." The jackal was alarmed. He said, "Please don't sing. The farmers will wake up and we will be caught. A wild animal like you never appreciate music." The donkey responded. The jackal quickly ran away before the donkey started singing. The farmers came running with their sticks, thrashed the donkey and tied a large stone around his neck. The jackal teased the donkey when they met later and said, "It seems that the villagers have rewarded you suitably for your singing." The moral is, analyze the consequences of your actions before taking a step. Our first story is Very Best Friends. When Grace moved into her new house, she loved her pretty new bedroom and the garden full of trees. But she missed all her friends. Grace's favorite game was dressing up, but it was no fun to play on her own. One day, Grace was fluttering around the garden in her favorite fairy dress and sparkling wings when she heard a girl's voice in the yard next door. She looked over the fence, but all she could see were black clothes and long tangled hair. "Oh dear," Grace said. "I like to wear pretty colors and have neat hair. I don't think we'll ever be friends." A few days later, Grace saw the girl from next door again, but this time she was wearing a pretty dress and purple shoes. Then Grace noticed that the girl was crying. "Hello," Grace said softly. "Why are you crying?" The girl told Grace her name was Emma and then sighed. "I was flying around in my bumblebee costume and the wings caught on a tree and ripped." "Do you like dressing up?" asked Grace. Emma nodded. "It's my favorite game." "It's mine too," said Grace excitedly. "You can borrow my fairy wings if you like." "Thank you," said Emma happily. Grace and Emma spent all afternoon dressing up. Next day, Emma knocked on Grace's door. She was wearing a fairy godmother costume. "Thank you for letting me use your fairy wings," she said. "Thank you for playing with me," said Grace. "I have come to grant you a wish," said Emma. "I wish," said Grace, "that we will always be best friends." Emma waved her magic wand and, smiling, took her new friend's hand in her and gave it a squeeze. "Let's be very best friends ever," said Emma. "This is a real wish come true," sighed Grace, and the two girls did a happy twirly fairy dance together. The next story is I Will Have to Think Again. Frog was sitting on a Lily Pad reading a cookbook. It was his birthday and he wanted to make a birthday cake. To surprise his friends, he wrote a list of the ingredients and set out to get them. First, Frog went to his friend the miller to get a bag of flour. "How will you get the bag of flour home?" asked the miller. "I will swim up the river with it," replied Frog. "But the flour will get wet," warned the miller, "and it will be no use to you at all." "Oh," said Frog, "I will have to think again." Next, Frog went to see his friend Brown Cow for a bucket of her milk. "How will you get the milk home without spilling it into the river?" asked Brown Cow. "Oh, I don't really know," mumbled Frog. "I will have to think again." Frog decided to visit Speckled Hen for some eggs. "Take as many as you want," she told Frog. "But how will you get them home?" "I will tuck the eggs under my chin," said Frog happily. "But you might drop them and they'll break," replied Speckled Hen. "Oh," croaked Frog, and a tear fell from the corner of his eye. "I'll just have to think again." Frog returned to his lily pad empty-handed and miserable. The sun was warm and he was tired, so he drifted off to sleep. "Happy birthday to you." Suddenly, Frog woke up. On the bank of the pond stood all his friends, singing, "The miller was holding a birthday cake." "But how?" "We wanted to surprise you," said the miller. Brown Cow provided the milk, Speckled Hen laid some eggs, and I mixed the ingredients with my flour and baked you a cake. "Wow, thank you," grinned the frog. "But I was going to make a cake to surprise you." Well, his friends laughed. "You will have to think again." Now, let's go to our next rhyme. I plant a little seed. I plant a little seed in the cold, old ground. But comes the yellow sun, big and round. Down come the raindrops, soft and slow. Up come the flower, grow, grow, grow. Next rhyme. One man went to mow. One man went to mow a meadow. One man and his dog went to mow a meadow. Two men went to mow a meadow. Two men, one man and his dog went to mow a meadow. Next, go to our next rhyme. A swarm of bees in May. A swarm of bees in May is worth a load of hay. A swarm of bees in June is worth a silver spoon. A swarm of bees in July is not worth a fly. Next rhyme. 4 seats in a row. 4 seats in a row. 4 seats in a row. One for the mouse, one for the crow. One to rot and one to grow. Next rhyme. Grinding corn. Early in the misty morn, the miller's up to grind some corn. Wheels turn, sacks will fill, as he grinds corn in his mill. Please subscribe to my channel for more such interesting stories. The first story is The Foolish Cranes. A herd of cranes once lived on a tree near a lake. In the hollow of their tree lived a black cobra. Every time the cranes laid eggs, the cobra would eat them. One day, a crab saw a crane crying at the edge of the lake and asked, "Why are you crying?" The crane told the crab about the wicked snake. The crab thought of a plan to get rid of the cranes who were his mortal enemies. He suggested, "I have a plan. Scatter some fish near the mongoose's house and create a trail to the snake's hollow. The mongoose will reach the snake's hollow and kill him as they were sworn enemies." All the cranes agreed and created a fish trail. The mongoose followed the fish trail leading to the cobra and killed him. When the mongoose saw the cranes, he climbed up the tree and killed them all too. The moral of the story is always evaluate the advice given to you before you act on it. Next story, 4 Friends and the Hunter. 4 friends, a crow, a rat, a turtle and a deer, would gather around a lake and narrate stories to each other every afternoon. One afternoon, the deer did not turn up. The friends realized that the deer was in trouble. The crow flew across the forest to look for the deer. He returned worried and said, "Our friend has been caught in a hunter's net. We need to help her." "Rat, you can chew the net and help her get out." The crow carried the rat in his bill and flew to the spot where the deer was captured. The rat chewed up the net and the deer was freed. They were shocked to see the turtle crawling towards them. Suddenly, the hunter returned. The rat hid in a hole. The crow flew away while the deer ran away. The hunter saw the turtle and caught him. The crow shared his plan for rescuing the turtle with the deer and the mouse. The 3 friends searched the forest and located the hunter. The deer lay motionless on the ground while the crow sat on its body. When the hunter saw the deer and the crow, he amused that the deer was dead. He dropped his net and ran towards the deer. The rat swiftly approached the net and chewed it. The turtle came out and hid inside the lake. The mouse hid in a hole. The crow gave a signal to the deer and flew away. The hunter was surprised when the deer stood up and ran away. The hunter went back to his net but was surprised to see that the turtle had escaped. He was disappointed and went back home. The turtle and the deer thanked their friends. The moral of the story is, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Next story, The Lover Who Fought the Ocean. 2 Titiba birds lived near the ocean. The female Titiba asked her husband for a safe place to build a nest and lay eggs in. He suggested the seashore, but she was skeptical as the waves of the ocean could destroy their nest. "The sea wouldn't have the courage to harm my children," said the husband. Finally, she agreed and laid the eggs in a nest on the shore. The ocean heard everything and felt offended. So the ocean created giant waves and swallowed their eggs. The female Titiba cried and complained, "I warned you that the ocean would swallow our eggs." The male Titiba was furious. and threaten the ocean to return the eggs. The ocean mocked the bird and said, "You are so tiny and weak. How can you defeat me?" The female Titiba knew that it was futile to threaten the ocean. She suggested her husband, "Let's seek help from our friends." The male Titiba approached his friends for help. One of the birds suggested that he seek justice from Garuda, the king of birds. They all went to Garuda and told him about how the sea had swallowed their eggs. Garuda promised to help the birds. He was furious with the ocean. He went to Vaikuntha to meet Lord Vishnu and complained, "I am the king of the birds and I have to protect my subjects. Please ensure that the ocean returns the eggs of those innocent birds." Lord Vishnu heard the story and agreed to fulfill Garuda's demand. He went to the shore and threatened to turn the ocean dry if he did not return the eggs. The ocean was terrified and returned the eggs to the birds. The birds thanked Garuda and went home happily. The moral of the story is we should never underestimate our opponents. Hello kids, welcome back. So let's start with today's interesting story. The first story is the Wicked Jackal's Dinner. Once a wicked jackal was wandering in the forest when he found a dead elephant. He tried to dig its teeth into the elephant's skin but couldn't pierce it. Then he thought, "I must think of a plan to save this meal all for myself and somehow find an animal that can tear the skin of my prey too." He saw a lion passing by and offered the elephant to him. But the lion refused and said, "I only eat the animals that I killed myself." In some time, a tiger came near the jackal and his prey. The jackal knew the tiger could not refuse to feast on the elephant. He addressed the tiger, "Oh tiger, the lion will be back soon. He would be so angry if he found out that you tasted his meal." The tiger was scared of the lion and so he went away. Soon a leopard approached the jackal. The jackal knew that the leopard had sharp claws. Hence he invited the leopard and said, "Oh leopard, would you like to taste this dead elephant? The lion will be back in some time to feast on this elephant. But I will warn you before he arrives." The leopard thanked the jackal for the generous offer. He dug in his teeth and managed to pierce the skin. The jackal smirked as he knew his work was done. "Oh leopard, you must run. The lion is back," said the jackal. Scared of the lion, the leopard ran away without eating even a bite. Soon another jackal approached the spot. The cunning jackal defeated the second jackal and kept the entire meal to himself. The moral of the story is assess the situation before acting. Now let's go to our next story, The Lion and the Foolish Donkey. An old lion was wounded in a fight with an elephant once. Unable to hunt for himself, he asked his advisor, a jackal, to find some prey for him. The jackal saw a donkey grazing on the green grass near the edge of the forest. The jackal approached him and said, "Oh donkey, why do you look so thin?" "Oh jackal, my master doesn't feed me much, which is why I had to come here to eat," replied the donkey. The jackal convinced him that he must come and live in the jungle where the grass is green. The foolish donkey agreed and followed the jackal into the forest. The lion was excited when he saw him coming. He leapt towards the donkey but failed to catch him. The scared donkey ran away. The jackal scolded the lion and asked him to be patient the next time. The jackal ran after the donkey and stopped him. The jackal spoke cunningly. "Oh donkey, why are you running? The animal that jumped on you was a female donkey who wanted to embrace you." The donkey was not convinced, but the jackal said, "Would you be alive if a lion or tiger had tried to kill you? Now come with me." The foolish donkey believed the jackal and followed him again. The lion sneaked up on the donkey and killed him. The lion told the jackal to guard the carcass while he took a bath in the river. The jackal was hungry as well, so he ate the donkey's brain while the lion was gone. When the lion returned, he saw the donkey's brain was missing. He became furious and demanded an explanation. "Oh master, if the donkey had any brains, why would he come back after being attacked?" explained the jackal. The lion was convinced and they shared the meal. The moral is, use wit to get out of tricky situations. Now let's go to our next story, The Fox and the Goat. A fox once fell into a well. Though the well was not deep, the fox could not get out despite his best efforts. Suddenly a thirsty goat came into the well to drink water. The sly fox said to the goat, "This is the sweetest water I have ever tasted in my life. You can jump into the well and quench your thirst." The foolish goat jumped into the well and drank the water, but soon realized that he was trapped inside the well. The fox spoke again. "If you stand on your hind limbs, I can climb on your back and jump out of the well. I will then help you get out of the well." The naive goat helped the fox get out of the well. The fox mocked the goat before leaving him inside. "You fool! You should have thought of finding a way out before you jumped in the well." The moral of the story is, look before you leap. Our first story is Pansy Pig. Mrs. Pig had 5 beautiful piglets, but from the moment they were born, they were trouble. There was Percy, who loved to stick his little pink snout into everything. Pickle, who was always getting lost. Poppy and Peepa, who tried to eat the strangest things. And Pansy, she wasn't that naughty, but somehow she got into more trouble than all the other 4 piglets put together. The thing is, Pansy's brothers and sisters all looked so alike. They were pink all over, and Mrs. Pig found it very hard to tell them apart. But Pansy was different. She was pink with a brown pansy-shaped mark on her bottom. So, whenever the piglets were up to no good, Mrs. Pig could always spot Pansy. "No, Pansy, stop being so naughty," Mrs. Pig would yell. Poor Pansy. Her brown patch gave her away every time. "It's not fair," she snorted. "I always get the blame, just because Mommy can tell me apart." So today we are going to read some interesting stories. Let's get started. The first story is The Hare and the Tortoise. A hare in the jungle always made fun of the tortoise and called him the slowest runner in the world. One day, the tortoise was tired of the bullying and said, "I will defeat you in a race." The hare laughed and accepted the challenge. The race began and the tortoise started walking at a slow pace while the hare ran with speed. After a while, the hare stopped and looked back, but could not spot the tortoise. Feeling confident, the hare decided to rest and fell asleep. The tortoise kept walking and overtook the hare. The hare woke up and was shocked to see the tortoise approaching the finish line. He ran as fast as he could, but the tortoise crossed the finish line and won the race. The humbled hare never made fun of the tortoise again. The moral of the story is slow and steady wins the race. Now let's go to our second story, The Ant and the Dove. One day, an ant fell into the river and was drowning. A dove saw the ant and decided to help him. She dropped a leaf in the water. The ant stepped on the leaf. The dove then carried the leaf back and placed it gently on the ground. The ant crawled to safety. Thank you so much. I will always remember this, said the ant. After a few days, the ant saw a hunter. When she saw the hunter pointing an arrow at the dove, she was terrified. To save the dove, the ant immediately ran towards the hunter and bit his toe. Ouch! Screamed out the man, losing concentration as he shot the arrow. The arrow missed the dove and she flew away to safety. The dove thanked the ant later. The moral of the story is, one good deed deserves another. Now let's go to our third story, The Swan and the Owl. A beautiful swan lived near a lake at the edge of the forest. One day, an owl saw the swan swimming gracefully across the lake and praised him. Soon they became friends and spent a lot of time together. One day, the owl said, I am bored of this place. I must go back to my home near the lotus grove in the forest. Please visit my house anytime you want. A few days later, the swan went to meet the owl. Since it was daytime, the owl did not come out of its hole and asked the swan to wait for night. The swan was disappointed. Tired from his journey, the swan slept near the tree. At dawn, a group of merchants was passing by singing hymns. The owl replied with a loud and harsh hoot and hid in his hole. Considering it a bad omen, an angry merchant shot an arrow at the owl, but it hit the swan instead and killed it instantly. The moral of the story is, choose your friends wisely. Let's go to our next story, The Wise Gander. A flock of geese lived on a tree. One day, an old gander noticed a little vine growing around the roots of the tree. He advised the geese, if the vine grows big and thick, a hunter might easily climb it and trap us. But others ignored his warning and the vine grew with time. One day, while the geese were gone, a hunter saw the tree and climbed it. He found several nests and left a net around them. The next morning, all the geese were trapped in it. The old gander said, "Don't panic. Act dead when the hunter comes and wait for the right time to escape." The hunter came and threw the birds down, thinking they were dead. To his surprise, the birds got up and flew away together. The geese found a safer place to live. The moral of the story is, never underestimate a threat. Hello beautiful people. Today I'm back with new stories for you, so let's get started. Our first story is The Demon with Tender Feet. Once upon a time there lived a cruel demon in a thick jungle. One day he saw a priest. He leapt onto the priest's shoulders and said, "Carry me to a nearby river. I want to take a bath." The priest had no choice but to agree. On their way to the river, the priest noticed the demon's feet and said, "Why do you have such soft and tender feet?" The demon replied, "I have taken a vow never to touch the ground with my feet until I have washed them." Soon they reached a river and the demon went inside the river. The priest knew the demon would kill him after taking his bath. He also knew that the demon wouldn't follow him without washing his feet, so he ran away. The demon did not follow him to protect his vow. The moral is, curiosity doesn't always kill the cat. It can also save your life. Our next story, The Price of Indiscretion. Once there lived a wealthy trader who owned a flock of camels. Though he owned several camels, his favorite one was a young camel. This camel wore a bell around his neck and was pampered by the trader. The camels would graze in the nearby jungle every day. They fed on the soft grass and drank water from a nearby lake and would return before sunset. The pampered young camel would often wander alone. The other camels scolded him and asked him to stay close to them. Hello my beautiful friends, so today I'm back with another interesting story, so let's get started. The first story is The Mice That Ate Iron. Once a trader wanted to travel to a different kingdom and needed some funds, so he went to a merchant he knew. He borrowed some money from the merchant, leaving his iron scales behind as security. When the trader came back from his trip, he went to the merchant's house and returned the money he had borrowed and said, "Now you must return the iron scales I had given as security." The greedy merchant refused and said, "There are so many rats in my shop. They must have eaten your iron scales." The trader knew that the merchant was lying, but didn't argue. He shrugged and said, "Never mind. I brought several bags of silk cloth from my trip. Will you send your son to come with me so that he can fetch a few bags for you?" The greedy merchant agreed and asked his son to accompany the trader. The trader took the bag to a cave and said, "I have stored my goods inside the cave. Could you go inside and bring 2 bags?" When the boy went inside the cave, the trader quickly blocked the entrance. He went back to the merchant alone. The worried merchant asked the trader, "Where is my son?" "I am sorry, a flamingo took your boy in its claws and flew away," said the trader. The merchant became furious and asked, "I will complain to the elders of the village." When the village elders asked the trader to tell the truth, the trader replied, "If rats can eat iron, why can't a flamingo carry a boy?" Confused, the elders asked him to explain the matter. After hearing his story, the elders scolded the merchant and asked him to return the scales. The trader set the boy free after getting his scales back. The moral of the story is, as you sow, so shall you reap. Now let's go to our second story, The Wolf and the Crane. A wolf was enjoying a nice meal when a bone got stuck in his throat. He was in horrible pain. He tried to take it out several times, but failed. He asked his friends for help, but no one could get the bone out. Finally, he went to the crane for help. "I will give you anything if you take this bone out of my throat," said the wolf. The crane agreed to help. She asked the wolf to keep his mouth wide open. She put her beak inside the wolf's mouth and pulled out the bone. When she asked for a reward, the wolf grinned and said, "You placed your head inside a wolf's mouth, and yet you are alive. Isn't that a reward?" The moral of the story is, don't expect gratitude from wicked people. Let's go to our third story, The Fox and the Stork. One day, a fox invited his friend, the stork, to dinner. To poke fun at his friend, the fox served soup in a shallow dish. The stork tried to drink the soup, but could merely wet the tip of his beak. Meanwhile, the fox grinned and asked, "Didn't you like the soup?" "I guess I'm not hungry," said the stork and left feeling embarrassed. After a few days, the stork invited the fox to dinner. When the fox arrived, the stork welcomed him, and serve the dinner in a long-necked jar with a narrow mouth. The stork replied, "I prepared some special meal for you, my friend. Enjoy your dinner." The fox tried to fetch the piece of meat from the jar, but could only lick the tip. After a while, the hungry fox left feeling irritated and embarrassed. Moral of the story is, people will treat you the same way you treat them. See you in the next video.